What's up, everybody? Back at Indian of Oklahoma City again for another new bike review. Indian Roadmaster 116 Limited with the new heated and cooled seat for 2021. Now this one's, of course, the chromed out version versus the Dark Horse, which is all blacked out. Notice that you got one open, one closed for right now. I'm going to open them both up. It's a little warm today. This one comes now with the floorboards, as you can see, already in deployed position. Nice big trunk here. One button, currently locked. Let me unlock it real quick. Central locking and everything. There you go. Kind of a look around here at the trunks and everything. Enough to fit a full helmet. You can see a power port there. Of course, you got that big bag here. Like I said, we're going in with the floorboards now. So all that's there. Of course, you got storage there as well. So it's in the lowers. Now this is the big feature this year, is the heated and cooled seat. And you can see the controls there, but you can also do that through the screen. We'll go over that when we get there. Kind of going through it. Also another thing, new power port here for 12 volt power. You can see it's actually the pigtail like you'd get on your charger. So the power button's now over here with your starter, cruise control, and your paddle, and also your windscreen. And of course your radio control, list control, paddles for infotainment and all that fun stuff on this side with horn, bright select and all that. Self-canceling turn signals, and of course your redundant buttons across here. Lockable saddlebags, heated grip control on there as well. So quite a few things. Passenger today will be joining me, so I got my wife here so that way she can test out this seat with me, because it's got both rider and passenger control. So we're going to go through that together. So let's go ahead and we'll gear up and we'll get going from here. So gearing up here, we're going to do a 2-up review of the Roadmaster Limited with the new heated and cooled seat on a 90-degree Oklahoma day. What a perfect time to try this idea. So that's the great part. As you can see, our AGV gear. Of course, she's got the Mojave jacket, which is more the ADV style jacket. So AGV Sport providing her with the Mojave jacket. First time you guys get to see that. And of course, my lovely gloves and flannel that I wear all the time. All right, let's pop up on here. So we kind of went over the controls a little bit ago here, and we'll kind of do that from here. Like I said, this is the new on button versus where it used to be over here on the control panel. When it comes up, you'll see that the Indian motorcycle pops up just as it always has. And of course, now the passenger has the floorboards, so that's good news for the passenger. All right, now you know standard mode is on. You can flip that over here. Sport mode as always, folks. Auto mode, there's your passenger seat control there. You go through here, you'll see that you have your current ride voltage. If you have your home set, you can open your doors, all that fun stuff. With the garage, navigation is based on cellular network. And you can actually click on that, put the layers on. No weather, absolutely beautiful day again, so I can't show you that, but we'll keep the traffic on for you. You'll see it's green over there, so we're good there. We can put those layers on if we need them. And of course, as we go through, you can add your Bluetooth devices and all that. Of course, you have your music mode here, which we will not be adding music on because, let's face it, I don't like the copyright strikes. There's all your extra Navo modes and all that. And of course, if you want to, you can split screen it. And you can change the widget on this side however you want to. You can drag them over if you need to, or however you want to do it. We'll keep it as it is now. All right, so with all that being said, we'll give her a crank here. All right, now that we got it cranked, we're going to turn on the passenger seat.
Yes. Let's see what we can do here.
All right, so we are maximum cold on both seats, so we'll see how this thing works. Some sort of magical induction cooling majigger, mabobber thingy majigger, whatever you want to say. Do 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 do. All right, of course the Roadmaster is a fantastic machine. I've been on this bike many times before. The last time we had to do a 2-up position, my wife back there wasn't doing too good in the medical department, so Honey Badger was the passenger. This is her first time Auto Roadmaster since 2016, I think, was it?
16 or 17?
Yeah, somewhere in there. So the old school seat back in the time, that is not this one. This is, of course, that heated and cooled seat, kind of like the gunner seat is what they kind of call this style. So it's more like in lines with the way the Chieftains are and all that. And
It's very comfortable.
where we go.
Very plush.
Passenger reporting a very plush. Of course, you can hear her. I don't know why I said that, because you can hear you right now. All right. So we're getting up to speed here. As always, the 116 provides quite a bit of potent power. This machine likes to rotate at around 2,500 to get to the power band. So right at around 60 miles an hour, we're getting close to 2,350, somewhere in there. So we're within the power band of this particular machine. Of course, we're having the extra weight of a passenger today. It's still holding nicely.
I can feel the cooled seat starting to work because it's actually getting cooler.
So you can feel the seat getting cooler.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm still working on that right now. So this is the hotter end of what we can normally get with these seats and stuff like that. So this will be a first to see if I start to feel this seat start to get a little bit cooler. But as you can hear, Miss Hedgehog is stating, yes, indeed, she can feel that it is getting cooler. All right. So riding around at 60 miles an hour, 765, we're about cutting close to that 2,500 RPM. Like I said, with the 111, it rotates a little bit more than this one. The 116 doesn't have to work as hard. So you can see that you do have those vents down there, and you can actually pull them open. There's a little lever down there that you can pull with your foot if you need to. It's all there where you can grab and move and do what you got to do. Get you some opened up vents. Wind protection overall is really good. And you'll notice the windshield's in its lowest position. And I do get a smidge of buffeting at the top of the helmet right now, but of course this is the power windshield. And you can get that thing right above you and you're completely dead in air. Of course, on a hot day like this, passenger and rider would rather have the air.
Yes.
All right, so from the rider standpoint, as you're riding this machine down the way, the Roadmaster's always been a very fantastically balanced bike, and I've carried passengers on it before. Like I said, my wife got the opportunity to ride the older one with the older, bigger seat. Do you like this one better, or do you like the older, wider seat that used to be on these?
That's kind of a hard question because while this one is not as wide, it is still very, very, plush. And as you can see here, I still have plenty of room on both sides but I am a bit smaller, but it's still very plush, very nice ride. I don't feel like it's, too constricting. So they're both very, very nice seats. But this one to me is just a little bit more plush than the other one, especially on the backrest part. The old seat, the backrest did seem like a bit harder, a little bit more uncomfortable.
Interesting perspective. See, to me, as the rider, I like the wideness and the thickness of the older seats better than the new ones that they got on them right now. The vintage I just rode a moment ago has that older style, bigger seat. That is just so much more comfortable than this style to me. But that's just because of the way it cups. This one has that more harsh back end for the rider than the actual vintage, which is that more rounded off and just plusher bike. So I like that seat better than the new ones on this. Now I gotta say, I actually feel a cooling effect now. It's kind of a little weird actually now I'm thinking about it. That is awkward. Like, it's not cold, but it like makes you feel that something, and that's a little unnerving because used to, it's more of that, you feel that heat coming up your leg, but now it's this kind of weird cool sensation. It's not a cold sensation. It's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's a little weird.
It is a little weird, but at the same time, it's nice on a hot day with the Oklahoma heat.
It's a take it or leave it thing for me right now. I don't necessarily think it's making me cooler on the ride, but it's not like getting monkey butt and freaking swamping it out or whatever you want to call it. So that's not a problem right now. It just feels so weird that the cheeks are getting kind of this weird cooling sensation, but it feels a little off is the best way to describe it. A little wrong in a way, but
yeah, it is definitely a new feeling. That is weird.
It is definitely weird. So it's funny that a bike can do this now, that we actually have the technology to have a cooled seat on a motorcycle, and it is interesting to note that it is making a difference. It is definitely something I can feel. And like I said, we're around 90 degrees today, and right now we're riding away from the wind, so we're not getting much wind effect right now or cooling or anything like that, but we definitely are getting a seat sensation.
Yeah.
But as always, with the good old Roadmaster, the mirrors are really nice. The bike is super smooth. For the rider, the suspension is really good. How does it feel for the back whenever we're hitting those bigger bumps and stuff?
Don't really feel them a whole lot.
And you got to sit right basically behind the shock instead of in front of it, because the way the mono shocks are on these, they lean toward the rider.
I mean, it's a little bumpy, but it's not terrible. There are worse rides out there.
For sure, but you got to remember, we did not preload this bike for us at all, so we don't have the air shocks filled up. Which, like on every other Indian, it's under the left port over here, and it's just a little deal where you can sit in there and you can pump it up, and they usually come with their little air pump. Oh yes, I made you bonk me.
That was just my hand.
Still, nonetheless, you bonked. These brakes grab really, really well. Big old girl slows down just fine, but as you can see, nice and balanced, easy bike to handle. I miss a heel toe shifter right now. Definitely would want one. All right, now that we got the 30-mile-an-hour winds over there, there's a big bump for you. How'd that feel?
That actually wasn't too bad.
All right, good, excellent. So with that 30-mile-an-hour winds now to our right, how are we feeling back there?
Still feeling pretty good.
Not buffeting you in any way?
No.
That's good. So even with the passenger on the back of this machine, riding with the wind hard to our side here, see that flag there, not getting blown around whatsoever. The bike is handling it just fine. The cooled seat still working oddly. Just, I don't know how to describe it. It is an interesting sensation. Now I will give Indian credit. We got a pedal down there again for the brakes, so it doesn't have just a little peg. We got a full pedal again. So that's actually a relief for a lot of riders who don't like the little peg. They like that big feedback from that big pedal. So that's another improvement on 2021 models. All right, we're gonna take this 116 down like we normally do with the old engine braking, but brakes on this bike are fantastic. And the suspension on this bike is really good though. Nice and buttery, especially on this bad broken road here. Oh wow, sitting still, I actually really do feel that seat a little bit more, and that's just awkward.
Yes, it's definitely a new feeling that I'm not sure how I feel about it.
One of those things. All right, we're gonna hit these horrifying little bumps over here on the side. Of course, we're dodging some things too, but man, in this horrible part of the road, this bike really handles that rather well, passenger and all.
It does.
It doesn't cause it to shimmy or anything like that. This, of course, is a fork-mounted fairing, so it's not a frame mount. It's on the fork, so it gives weight to the steering. But going into the wind, we got, like I said, 30-mile-an-hour winds coming at us. We're doing about 45 to 50. You put that together, you're getting anywhere between 75 to 80-some-mile-an-hour wind force. And this bike doesn't really move at all. In fact, going into the wind with the windshield in the lowest position, really, I felt some buffeting a little bit earlier, but I think because of the way I made the passenger move, it caused the wind vortice to change, and I don't have that buffeting like I did earlier.
I don't really have any buffeting back here either.
Which is good for a passenger. You don't want to be buffeted around either, because if you buffet a passenger, they move, you move with them. All right. Once again, just using that good old engine braking, a little bit of back brake there to give the light. And this bike is very one-footable. As you'll see, I always stop on the 1 foot. Even on these big, heavy bikes. That way I have some safety in the back with the lights on and everything like that, and people can see me. And no matter how big this bike is, I mean, this thing is 950 pounds, basically, is the best way to say. 940, add passengers on it. You know, we're a little over 1,000 pounds really easily right now. And it doesn't feel like it. That's the thing that always surprises me about Polaris and their chassis engineers, is how well this is done and how balanced this bike is, once again, into the wind and not being buffeted in any way, causing me to lose control or anything like that on the bike itself. But it's just a nice, easy-going machine. Everything is very ergonomic on this bike. I mean, you have the little paddles that you can change your screen with real easily. Of course, you could change your widgets. You can do what you need to do. You see tire pressure monitoring. You have miles to empty. You have voltage. You have oil till next change. You can load Apple CarPlay on these new machines starting in 2020 and moving up. Of course, 2021 it comes with it. 2020 needed an update. But this just reminds me of the good old Roadmasters of old, a nice, easy riding machine. But the cooled seat is a neat trick, and it is a trick, that is for sure. I cannot figure out what's going on with it, but that's the thing to talk about, is how interesting it feels. I mean, you do have to take into consideration all the extra heat that you deal with anyway as a motorcyclist. It's just weird to have one part of you suddenly cooler than the rest of the part of you, and it makes for an interesting sensation. All right, back on the highway going the other way. We got the wind now to our left, pretty heavy. Once again, this bike is just sitting here like a rock on this road. And that is a very, very big hallmark of a touring bike. You don't want to be tossed around or feel like you're being tossed around in any way by the machine whenever you're riding. You want something that's easy to handle, that's comfortable. And despite the weight on this bike, there are so many other bikes that are in this range of weight. This one really does feel one of the lightest bikes in this weight class besides the Goldwing. It's just shocking how a big V twin bike like this does the same thing. And you can see I hit that bump really hard and no shimmy or nothing. The suspension handles it super well. Power is very good on it, even carrying the passenger. How do you feel back there when I give it a good rip?
I feel good.
Doesn't really throw you, does it?
Not really.
Man, the 116 just has such good low-end grunt. And we're not even taxing it right now. We're doing like 50 miles an hour, around 1,700 or so RPM. So we're not really putting it through its paces whatsoever. And it just handles it really nicely. So here comes the big test on the suspension. Is this bump that goes inside and the bump that goes outside. So this really tests the suspension for both a rider and a passenger. So here's our inside bump. A bump. I got nothing. How about you?
I didn't really have anything.
Whoop, that was a pretty decent bump.
Yeah, that one I felt. I actually came off the seat a bit on that one.
Okay, so she came off the seat on the outside bump, or the speed bump, basically. Of course, it's hard to avoid those. You can't really, because it's the whole road. All right. Third gear, easy pull back up to speed, up to the interstate. We're back and going again, this time directly into the wind.
Actually kind of interested to see my camera footage from that bump when I came off the seat.
That was probably not that bad. That's what gimbal stabilization is about.
Well, I'll just talk about like maybe how high I got.
We won't see any hair time, I bet you. Yeah, so overall, you know, we have the Chieftain, and I bet you like this one a lot better.
I like the backrest aspect on this one, but the Chieftain is still, to me, a little bit more comfortable.
So you actually like the Chieftain's backseat a little bit better?
Yes, but I like the backrest aspect of this.
How about the bumpiness versus the Chieftain?
To me, I don't really see that much of a difference. At least for me, there's not.
Gotcha. So see, not too much of a difference between it and the Chieftain despite the extra weight weighting down the suspension components. You can see we've got up to highway speed again, and we're about 70 miles an hour now. We're running around 2,600 RPM, so this bike is not even taxed right now. Even with a passenger, the 116 just rumbles right along wonderfully. And I gotta say, the cooled seat is a neat trick, but it's just weird because there's only like one aspect of you that's getting cool, while the rest of you is still a little warm from the rest of the ride.
Yes.
That is a little weird feeling. It is definitely different, but it does have a small effect. It doesn't let you feel like you're swampy in the rear area like you normally would. It actually does a discernible effort in 90-degree heat. That's actually impressive. So at any rate, when it comes down to the Roadmaster, passenger approved?
Yes.
So passenger approves of the Roadmaster, the rider approves of the Roadmaster. As always, I've loved the Roadmaster ever since they've come out. It's been a fantastic ride, real easy to get around on, enough room that the passenger's not murdering you with their helmet every time you come to a stop. They have a nice backrest, an easy way to ride. Rider has enough room to move around and maneuver. You can see that my 32-inch inseam does allow my knees to come a little bit above the tank. Not as bad as it on the Vintage. I do have a little bit more room to shove forward, not much, but it does help in that little respect. But the lowers do really good with the air channeling. I've got those vents open for the heat to dissipate. Don't get very much on the rider's legs that bad. Of course, the heat cooled seats coming in to play on some of that. That's just something I wasn't expecting. And I mean, in all honesty, is it cold? No, but it doesn't have an effect. You definitely do feel it. So is the Roadmaster approved? Yes, definitely approved bike by both rider and passenger. Definitely thank Indian of Oklahoma City once again for allowing us to take out the latest and greatest from Indian, this new 2021 model Roadmaster Limited with this heated and cooled seat. That is an add-on for most of your bikes that you can purchase. A fairly expensive seat, but it comes with the Roadmaster, and it didn't really go up in price at all since last year, really. Between the Dark Horse and stuff, it's only a couple hundred extra, despite having the extra seat and some other things. That would have been $1,500 to $2,000 more, depending on how you got to do everything, like wiring and all that fun stuff. So, quite a interesting trick and nice add-on. Definitely, of course, you get the heated seat in the winter, and that will definitely work because I know how they work. They're toasty. But cooled seat in the summer, not quite ready for prime time yet for sure, but definitely a pardon the pun, cool trick.
Yes.
Definitely one of the coolest things I've ever been on. It's just so random. It really is. Of course, you can see that we're in one-cylinder mode because the bike got a little warm. But that's a trick that these have been able to do for a couple of years now. But overall, recommended bike. So once again, Rabid Hedgehog here with Indian of Oklahoma City. AGVSportUSA providing us the gear. You saw my wife's Mojave jacket. Of course, this is the Flannel 130 with the Mercury gloves. So lovely riding gear that they provide for us. Thank you once again to Law Tigers of Oklahoma for taking care of us as well. At any rate, keep that shiny side up, folks, and we'll catch you on the next ride.
What's up, everybody? This is the Rabid Hedgehog. We once again want to thank you for watching our videos. Please like, share, subscribe today, and if you like what you see, mash that notification button so that way you get our latest videos and notifications live and on the spot. We also want to thank our dealership partners, Indian of Oklahoma City, House of Kawasaki, and Motiv Cycle Works Moto Guzzi, who is also our motorcycle mechanic. We want to thank them for allowing us to ride their rides. We are not paid in by any way by any manufacturer or dealer. We just get to be men and women with opinions. We also want to reach out to our sponsors and thank them. We have Law Tigers Motorcycle Lawyers. These motorcycle lawyers are mostly nationwide and can be reached 24/7 at lawtigers.com or 1-888-868-0208. We also want to thank our newest sponsor for gear and the things that you see us wearing, AGV Sport USA. They are out of AGVSportUSA.com in Flower Mound, Texas. We also want to thank Doug Crawford and AMS Oil for protecting our machines with the latest in lubrication technologies. He can be found at usasynthetics.com or 405-388-6170. And also for Derek in Menlo and Associates Insurance Company. He can be found at 405-261-1010. Once again, everybody, keep that shiny side up, and we'll catch you on the next ride.